Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Tuesday to you. This is Gigi on track. A beautiful morning this morning. Okay, that's the announcements. But good morning to everybody, and I have a good gym nugget for you this morning. And this gym nugget is inspired by a couple of messages that we heard at the International Leadership Conference of this past week. The name of this gym nugget is Handle with Care. Whether we're talking about um, people in our family, we're talking about people that we lead, the body of Christ, people in our businesses, even in our own families, even our own bodies, but handle with care. Pastor E. Dewey Smith did a message at the summit. It was entitled "From the Seminary to the Cemetery," and it came from John 19:38 through 39, and it was telling how the two men, Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, took care of Jesus's body. This is after he was crucified. Joseph of Arimathea um, um, let Jesus have his tomb that he had paid for himself. And then Nicodemus, we know Nicodemus was the one that came to Jesus by night and asked him, what must he do to be born again, and so forth. And Nicodemus purchased in today's money about $2,000 worth of the spices and things to preserve his body. And also the women, they were there. They were the last ones at the cross, and they were the first ones at the tomb. But I liked how Pastor Smith talked about the care of the body and how we should care. Because, he brought out the fact that you would think of all the people that would have wanted to care for the body of Jesus would be the disciples. But they had run away. They were scared and everything. And sometimes people you least expect are the ones that that will take care of you and love you. But then the other message that was moving was the last message of the summit. Bishop Jake said he asked the Lord to give him a message, and he couldn't get this message. And I've been to many of his conferences. He always starts out with a powerful message, and then he ends up with one. But he said this time he couldn't. The Lord just hadn't put it in his spirit. But what he put in his spirit was that him and his wife, Sarita, his wife of 41 years, they would do this session together. This message was called Winning at Home. Winning at home. A lot of times, especially sometimes when people get up in status and move up to other levels, they neglect their family and their wives and their spouses. But we always must be considerate and recognize those, especially our close ones, our children, our families. And we know how Bishop Jakes, he took care of his dad, even learning how to use a dialysis machine, and while the other kids were playing and doing things, and he took care of his father and his father's business. And then also with his mother, he brought his mother in his home, and he would talk about how he would preach so hard, and he prayed for other people being healed, and they were healed, but he had to go back home and try to force his mother that had Alzheimer's, to just take a little bit of applesauce on his finger and feed his mother. And then he talked about, he thanked Sarita for 41 years of making his life, his word, easy. And she talked about how she always wanted to make sure that he always had a peaceful and easy way, even when he would come home from these businesses. And they talked about how even with their children, one of his sons had a heart attack, and Bishop Jakes was getting ready to preach in Nigeria. And when he got the word that his son had a heart attack, he didn't even preach. He had to take that next plane home from Nigeria. And they just talked about how it was important not only to just to win out in the world and win on the stage or win in the business, but you have to win at home. You have to handle those things at home with your family. It was just so awesome. And so I'm saying the same thing. I just love them. Bishop and Sarita remind me of me and Pastor. They've been married, I think they'll be 41 years in May, and we'll be 41 years in July. And, but it's all about handling with care and with family, even through the things that his children have been through. His daughter, it was very disappointing when she got pregnant at 13 years old. And look at her now, getting ready to step into her father's shoes as time goes on. And the other daughter, she's going through a very challenging divorce, and they're just sticking close together. No matter what, you have to handle with care. Handle with care regardless, especially those that are closest to you, especially the body of Christ, especially those that are loyal and loving you. Don't neglect them. Handle with care. That's my gym nugget. Handle with care. I just want to remind you this evening, join me at 7 p.m. for Church School Live. And we're continuing with the church and so forth after the resurrection of Jesus Christ, after the day of Pentecost. This one is called Jumping for Joy. Oh, you got to tune in to see what this is about, because this is the story when the man was laying at the gate, beautiful, and the disciples said, "Look on us." And it reminds me of a message I did some time ago. The beggar was looking for a handout, but the disciples gave him a hand up. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that tonight. So tune in to YouTube, the channel, the Gym Nugget, or Facebook Live. We are coming all the way live with the lesson from the International Sunday School Lesson Series. But don't forget, handle those, no matter how far you go, no matter where you are, handle with care the body of Christ. Handle with care those in your family. Handle with care those that work in your businesses. Handle even your own body. You need to even take care of your own body and handle it with care. See you tomorrow. Bye.